Okay, so did you want to you want to preview the conference championship games
Yeah.
tomorrow first?
So
Okay.
yeah, I mean, I guess one of the first sort of questions because look, we can talk about the Chiefs thing, but it's in Kansas City. It's not in Cincinnati like last time when they played a few weeks ago in Week 17. I just think the Chiefs are the better team. I mean, Burrow got sacked 9 times last week, but we can talk about that. But I really like. I kind of feel like the 49ers can win this game. I mean, Shanahan has won the last 6 games versus McVay, you know, and like I don't. It's kind of, and I thought Nick Wright actually made a good point on. I don't know if it was Monday or Tuesday, but he just said if you're a Rams fan, aren't you a little concerned? Like Stafford's played really well 2 games in a row. Don't you think he's due for like an interception game? Like so. Yeah, I'm just kind of, it's one of those things where I'm like, God, I don't really want to see the 49ers in the Super Bowl, but I feel like it might happen.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I'll get to that in a minute, but I think just to get Bengals Chiefs out of the way, yeah, obviously Cincinnati's major problem is can they protect their quarterback?
Yeah.
And but I do think there's a chance the Chiefs come out a little flat in the first half because last week was an incredibly draining game. And so I could see there's a chance the Chiefs come out a little bit flat, but I just think at the end of the day, I think the Chiefs have a better overall team, and I think they'll figure out how to, I mean, and the Bengals defense has played against Derek Carr and Ryan Tannehill the last 2 weeks, so it's not they haven't really had a legitimate offense that they've had to try to
Yeah.
stop.
And they gave them 31 points to, the last time they played. So
Yeah.
I don't know if I feel like the pressure on Burrow is going to be not that he's going to lose confidence in himself, because I don't think that's possible, because he's just, he's cocky as hell, but in a good way. But I just don't think they'll be able to kind of keep up with him, because it seems kind of like it seems like the Chiefs have kind of gotten their thing back there. I still don't think they're exactly the way they were the year, last year and the year before, but yeah, they've kind of gotten in. And in fact, you could argue this was an important year for the Chiefs because Mahomes had to kind of figure out, okay, you can't just be trying to make these crazy plays every single time you drop back to throw. Like, you got to do some timing and rhythm stuff, which he did against the Bills. So it's like, okay, if he can do that plus all the off script stuff, like, okay, now he's we already knew he was really good, but
Yeah, I think I wouldn't be surprised if the Bengals hung in there for a while, but I think at the end, in the second half,
I want a good game, so we'll see. And Joe Burrow's fun to watch, but I just, we'll see.
Yeah, I think they eventually, the Chiefs pull away in the second half. Yeah, Rams 49ers. I mean, I was listening to Mike Lombardi this week, and he says this is a field goal game either way. He thinks it's going to be incredibly tight. And usually the games between these two teams are for the most part. I think, I get being concerned. Like, I was listening to, I heard this from Bill Simmons. Like, he's making the argument that that he thinks San Francisco is a better team, and how do I, he's still making the argument about believing in the Rams, and I disagree with that because the Rams really kicked Tampa's ass last week. Like, nobody wants to admit that, but if the Cam Akers if they don't fumble the ball all over the place and snap the ball over the quarterback's head, which are fluky things that you can't depend on that. The Rams were the better team in that game. And now they almost blew it, yes. So it's like, oh, I'm worried they're almost, the Rams are going to blow it. I'm not worried about the Rams blowing it. I'm worried about, them just making a lot of mistakes. Like the last time they played, they had a 17-0 lead.
I'm just wondering, can the 49ers get tons of pressure on Stafford and have him start throwing an interception? I mean, Garoppolo could throw an interception too. I mean, Garoppolo played like crap last week. Okay, so I don't want to hear this. Oh yeah, but he keeps winning games. Stop it. Okay, he played like crap last week.
That's my thing. I give the Rams way more credit for how they played last week than San Francisco. I mean, honestly, San Francisco plays Dallas. They need Dallas to commit 15 penalties and completely screw up the game so they can barely hang on to win. And then last week they don't even score on offense. Like, I just I don't know how I can continue to expect San Francisco to deliver. Now,
Yeah, but my whole thing with them in this, it's got to be the defense, the defensive line specifically, and then their running game. Because if they can kind of do those two things, then you don't need Garoppolo to do as much. Yeah, and I mean, I gotta. It's weird because we kind of don't talk about, maybe we don't talk about Kyle Shanahan enough. Maybe that's just because the 49ers have been inconsistent. Like, they made the Super Bowl and they were bad last year. They started 3-5 this year. Like, I don't really get it, but I mean, yeah, for whatever reason, I don't know. They get into the playoffs. They're pretty good, I guess.
yeah, I mean, listen, before the season, I thought San Francisco would be the best team in that division. They proved that they weren't.
Right.
So, and then I kind of backed off of them a little bit when, I thought, when they beat the Rams and blew them out the first game they played in the regular season, I thought, it's on. And then they played Tennessee, they're up 10-0, and then they just completely don't do anything. And then they're losing against the Rams. They're down 17-0 at halftime against the Rams, and somehow they win that game. So yeah, I do think the defensive lines for both teams are probably going to determine this game. But, from going back to the Tampa Rams game last week, Tampa was successful on offense when they were able to run it. Like, they were pretty good at running the ball, but they got way behind, so they were never able to keep doing it because Tampa couldn't throw the ball very well. Like, they made a couple of big plays in the second half, but for the most part, they really struggled throwing the ball. So, but San Francisco is different. They can actually run it. Which takes the pressure, means the pass rush for the Rams doesn't matter as much. So yeah, I can't imagine that either team's going to blow the other one out in this game. So if I was betting, I would take the points, but I just find it hard to believe that the Rams at this point haven't kind of figured out what to do against San Francisco. But the problem, one of the problems for the Rams is that they like to spread it out and throw the ball, which plays right into what San Francisco defensively wants to do.
Yeah.
So
like, God, the 49ers could be in the freaking Super Bowl again. Like,
yeah,
I'd rather watch the Rams, but we'll see. We'll see if the Rams can pull it off. Yeah, I agree with Lombardi. It's probably a field goal game.
But if you're asking me who I trust the Rams more. I think the 49ers have really good players, and that's what allows them to stay in these, to play these games. The defensive lineman, Bosa, is fantastic. Deebo Samuel and George Kittle are unbelievable on offense. So they have a lot of stuff. But yeah, I think it's going to be a really, really interesting game. I'm kind of glad it's the second game because, I think it's going to be an awesome game.
Yeah.
But I will be rooting like hell for Joe Burrow, as I've stated. I'm on the front and center on the Joe Burrow bandwagon, but I think this may be a little bit to overcome against the Chiefs.
Well, and let's just mention this real quick, because this was sort of, I think Colin Cowherd was talking about this a little bit, and then Jim Irsay had a tweet where he's like, "Yeah, we need a quarterback who can score 30 points a game." After the game between the Bills and the Chiefs, so yeah, it's basically like one of those things where like. Yeah, guys, especially if you're in the AFC, like if you ain't got a quarterback who can be special like that, forget it. So all this, all you Dolphins fans, yeah, Tua's good. Right. Okay, sure.
Yeah, that's the thing that, we talked about this on Monday, I think, that game, the Chiefs-Bills game, pretty much showed us that, okay, like everybody else who thought we were pretty good. No, you're not. Like it just kind of showed, all the teams, Miami and Denver and all the teams that are on the fringe of the playoffs, just barely in or just barely out. That forget it. Like you're not winning anything with this. You're not close. You can't compete with this.
Yeah, you have to have a special like Josh. I mean, Josh Allen just like he runs people over. And then he sits in the pocket and he just throws, that long touchdown pass he threw, like that was insane. He just like, you're gonna play deep safety, fine, I'll just throw over him. Like what?
Yeah. To the adjustment for Mahomes and Allen and the big armed quarterbacks against the two deep shell that everybody's trying to play is just we're just gonna go by you. We're just gonna throw it 60 yards. It's a 60-yard route. And so good luck covering it, and it's
Yeah.
just,
So basically, like, you want to compete with Josh Allen and Mahomes. It's like, okay, Joe Burrow, Justin Herbert, everybody else. You better find somebody else. Like, I don't know what to tell you. So
yeah. And Burrow comes out and he's like, I'm just going to throw it deep on you. Like, I don't care. He's covered. So what? I'm just going to. So yeah, it was quite an impressive game. One I think that we'll remember.
Yeah.
Years from now.
Yeah, I mean, if you're in the NFC, it's not, it's not as bad because you're not having to deal with those like really, really exceptional quarterbacks. I mean, Stafford has a ridiculous arm, but he's not like mobile, like just running around, doing all this crazy stuff. So,
yep. All right. So